This is Storytelling with Puppets. And the next story is one called Bark George. And it's adapted from the book by Jules Feiffer. And to tell this story, you need a dog puppet. I've got my big sheep dog for this one. In the story, there's also a mother dog, and there's also a vet. But the way I like to tell it, the vet and the mother can just be played by the narrator. And then you also need a cat, and a pig, and a duck. But those animals, you can substitute others for those too. And then at the end there's a cow in the book. I almost always change the cow to something bigger. I don't really have a big cow puppet, and we need something big visually for this. So I use a dinosaur or a lion or something like that. So, here's how the story goes. Here's George. And George's mother said, "Bark, George." And George said, "Meow." Oh no, George. Dogs do not say meow. Who says meow? And the kids will participate a little bit here. Yes, cats say meow. Dogs say, what do dogs say? And they'll say ruff. In the book, the dog says arf, but kids just don't seem to know arf anymore, so we just say woof. Yes, dogs say woof. Now, bark, George. And George said, quack, quack, quack. Oh no, George. Dogs, who says quack? Ducks say quack. Dogs say woof. Now, bark again, George. And George said, oink, 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 oink. No, George. Dogs don't say oink. Pigs say oink. Dogs say woof. Okay? You've got it now, George? All right, I think you're ready. Now, bark, George. And George said, roar. So, George's mother took George to the vet. And before we go to the vet, just a couple words about that sequence. The mother is talking to George, and each time he gets the animal sound wrong, she gets a little more frustrated, and that should sort of show in your body language and your facial expressions, just like it does in the book. The book is perfect with the illustrations. Some audience participation from the kids is just fine. They might anticipate and say the woof before you're ready to say dogs say woof. That's okay. It's that kind of story. So anyway, George's mother took George to the vet. And the vet said, let me see now, George. I'll soon get to the bottom of this. Now again, you're being the mother and you're also being the vet. The vet has a little bit more of a, at least the way I tell it, a little bit more of a distinct voice and personality. Let me see now. I'll get to the bottom of this. Please, bark, George. And George went, meow. I think I know what to do. So he got George on the table and laid him down, and the vet put on a latex glove, and he reached deep inside of George and he pulled out a cat. There. Now, bark, George. Okay, now a couple things before we do the next thing. So the puppets that are going to pop out are in this bag. The kids know they're in the bag. They know the puppets aren't inside George. But doing it this way just gives just enough of a suggestion that you're actually reaching into George's mouth and pulling the puppet out. So don't worry too much about the kids seeing the bag or seeing even a foot or a tail of what's in the bag. It really works just fine. They love it. Okay, so, all right, now, bark again, George. And George said, quack, quack, quack. Oh, all right, back on the table. And now, the vet reached deep, deep inside of George and pulled out. He pulled out, and if you have to scramble to grab the right part of the puppet, that's okay. It increases the anticipation. Pulled out a duck. And then I like to, when I pull out the animal, I like to try to get it on my hand really quick and just have the duck and George look at each other as if they're both kind of confused about what's going on. And then off goes the duck. All right now, bark again, George. And George went oink, 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 oink. Very well, let's get you back on. And George lay down, and the vet reached deep, deep, deep inside of George and pulled out, that's right, he pulled out a pig. Now, bark again, George. And George went, roar! And you'll notice the sort of the timing and the hesitation with each of the animal sounds. I like to try to make it the same when he does it the first time for his mother. There's that hesitation before the roar. And when he does the pig, he does it really fast, right out in their faces. So I try to repeat that pattern with the vet that he follows with the mom. All right, George, lie down again. And this time, the vet put on his longest latex glove. And I've done this before when I actually had a long latex glove, and that's kind of funny, but it's not really necessary. And he reached deep, 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 deep inside of George. And he pulled out a lion. Now, bark again, George. And George went, woof, woof, woof. Well, George's mother was so happy that she kissed the vet. She kissed the cat. She kissed the duck. She kissed the pig. She even kissed the lion. And she was so happy that when they were walking down the street to go home after visiting the vet, George's mother wanted to show him off to all the people on the street. So she said, bark, George. And George said, hello. And depending on how the audience reacts, I might just stop the story right there. Usually what I'm looking for from the audience is a sort of a, wait a minute, he has a kid in there now, or he has a person in there, he swallowed a person. And usually that happens. But if not, especially with a younger audience, I might just prompt them a little bit. Well, what do you think's inside George now? And then they'll get it and they'll say, oh, it's a person. And then you end the story. So, that is one way to tell the story of Bark George by Jules Feiffer with puppets.